Hi everyone, welcome again. This video, what I'm trying to make is not a project, although it's an end-to-end project. But what I'm trying to do is a collaborative experiment, in which I want everyone to learn Microsoft Fabric in real-world production-like scenario, right? Uh, I'm starting with end-to-end taxi rides use case, but this is where you come in, right? So I'll start preparing a blueprint. I'll lay the groundwork for the project, cover everything from real-time data ingestion to processing data in Lakehouse, data warehouse, event-driven pipelines, mirroring, everything I'll cover, right? But the plan is to this project is designed to evolve. What it means that if there's a feature or there is some tool which you would like to see and edit, you guys can come back to me through comments. I will be very active on YouTube and on my LinkedIn, so you guys can post comments there, and uh, we can cover that. So whether it is a machine learning workflows, integrations, or let's say deep dive into specific components, or if you are even if you're facing any production problem and you want that production problem to be solved here, you guys can come here as well, right? So it's more about uh, a production grade solution that you want to learn and explore, right? Now, uh, I haven't done anything like this before on YouTube. One thing which I want to emphasize, this is not a tutorial. It's an ongoing collaborative journey. Every week, I will listen to the comments. I will listen to my audience. I will interact with you guys. And then every week, I will release next part of the project, accommodating everything what has been into my comment section, right? So it means each week I'll release new updates based on the feedback and suggestions, ensuring that this project grows into something which people can rely upon, right? uh, the idea is to build it together and create something that sets new standard for learning and innovation for MS Fabric. um, so what I need from you is, you guys, please drop the ideas what you guys want to see in the comment section, and be the active collaborator with me. Even one more thing what I want to tell and share here, that if any one of you want to collaborate with me in creating a problem and the solution around this use case, please ping me. I'm more than happy to collaborate, right? I'm trying something new, please be part of it. So let's see what I'm trying to do here, right? um, in this uh, project will cover everything from scratch. That means people who knows Fabric, they can skip few part, but people who don't know Fabric, they can literally start from this project, and rather than based on the tutorial, they can see how MS Fabric works in production, right? um, See, I'm not starting the end-to-end project in this video. This is more of an introductory video. But people who know MS Fabric is revolving around personas, right? It has data factory, data engineering, data warehouse, data science, real-time intelligence, Power BI, and other things like One Lake and Purview integration. The thing what I would like to do, and what I have done up to some extent, that I'm using each of this component for a real world problem, right? So it means that we are not learning theory, rather than we are doing practical in a production like environment. So the thing what I would like to cover is, let's see, the first thing what I'll start with is how to create Fabric trial and what are the limitations of Fabric trial, right? So a lot of people who are starting a Fabric trial are struggling with that. Okay, uh, they are starting a Fabric trial, but it's not working for them. What I will explain how to start it, what are the workarounds, and why it's failing that you are not able to create a Fabric trial. Um, in this particular video, we are literally working on real-time data, but one thing which I know that getting real-time data according to your use case is not very easy. So what I'm trying to do here, that I'm trying to create a Azure Event Hub, and then I'm trying to create real-time events and then pass them through Azure Event Hub. So it looks like that application is generating real-time event. So in our case, we will have real-time taxi rides data producing through Event Hub. But one thing important here, that you will learn how to create the Event Hub in Azure portal, and how to have the manage send permission in a notebook that can push the real-time data, right? Event Hub act as a point of entry for your streaming trip, taxi trips. Other thing, since we want to cover Fabric, we will start with workspace, and then we will learn about managing roles. So it means that even though you're in trial capacity, you can add users with admin, contributor, and other roles depending upon the responsibilities. We can learn upon them. So for example, which role can do what, right? And then we can see that if somebody is having a viewer role, he cannot edit things. Somebody has contributor role, what he can do, right? We will be using everything around data ingestion, but most of the time I would prefer to use Notebook. So inside Notebook, we will be covering how to create the Spark environment, right? And how to use that Spark environment, how to create your own cluster, and how to set up a notebook to use that cluster, right? And like how data scientists and data engineers can use to develop transformation, run machine learnings, and even I will be using Notebook to generate the synthetic data. So notebooks will generate data, data will go to Event Hub, and then Event Hub will be, the Event Hub data will be ingested in Fabric through real-time analytics. We will come to the architecture in 2 minutes, but this is what I'll try to do, right? Other thing, since I was talking about data generation, so we're gonna be using libraries like Faker and send it to Event Hub. Since we are talking about production level development, any keys will be stored in Azure Key Vault, and we will cover how to read the keys in your notebooks, and even in data pipelines, right? To ingest the real-time data, we will create an event stream, and we will store the real-time data in Event House. And we will be like, this will be no code approach. We won't be writing any code for that. It will be, and I'll show it to you how to do it very quickly, right? And then when the data is in Event House, we can think about how to do real-time analytics, how to create real-time dashboards. Now, if we take a step back, I would like to cover how to ingest data from different storage. For example, from Azure Blob Storage, how to create shortcuts, how to use Dataflow Gen2 to do the data data ingestion, right? So in Azure storage, we will have taxi related data, for example, payment type codes, card mappings. The data is in CSV file, and we will be creating data pipeline, and then notebook and shortcuts, and to read the data there. And one interesting thing what I'm trying to do is I have created a Azure SQL database, and there are multiple ways to bring data into Fabric from Azure SQL database, but I would like to cover here mirroring, right? So we will be creating a mirror database in Fabric to replicate the real-time near real-time changes. So what we will do, we will add few vendors into SQL database, and we will see how they are replicating into MS Fabric SQL database or in warehouse without even a single line of code, right? We will be creating shortcuts. We will be covering 2 or 3 types of shortcut from outside Fabric and even inside Fabric. Other thing, since we are talking about static data and real-time data, we will be saying how to join this data, kind of in Lambda architecture or cup architecture. We can go for anything, depend upon your feedback, but this is what I would like to do. Okay, now we will be touching OneLake and OneLake Explorer, and how to do read-write operations in OneLake. How to integrate OneLake with external application, we can cover that as well. So for example, let's say you created a storage in OneLake about the process data, and you want to use this in outside OneLake, let's say in Azure machine learning or even somewhere outside, right? We can see that integration. We will be building real-time dashboards with near instant refresh, and this will enable the dynamic dashboard business. For example, taxi volume, fare totals, and even the what we call real-time geospatial turn. Now, when we talk about dashboards, we will be seeing how to create semantic models and how to use the default semantic models. We gonna be covering some sort of data science, not a lot because I'm not a data scientist, but we can, if people want to learn with me, I can cover data science up to some extent, and then we can use ML flow in data science persona. Other thing what I would like to cover is metadata-driven pipeline, which means that let's say if you have 10 different tables into Azure SQL or anywhere in your RDBMS, how to create a pipeline so that we can do the selective ingestion from few of the tables, and how to use that metadata driven pipeline for incremental ingestion as well. And this is where I would ask you, okay, which tables we can create, right? Because everything we are making here, and then something around data warehousing, and how to use different optimization command, right? And how to clean the data, the temporary data, and how to use data vacuum and partitioning optimization in a Lakehouse warehouse to reduce cost and improve query performance. This is not an exhaustive list, honestly, but if we look at our end-to-end architecture, so let me draw it in very simple terms, right? And this is what I'm thinking at the moment. I have created it up to some extent in Fabric, but I can change it if you guys want it to be going in different direction. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We will start from let's say data sources, right? So how many data sources we have? We have, first is our real-time taxi data, right? The second is your Azure SQL data, which has vendor information, right? And then we have Azure Blob Storage, which has payment related information like pay code, area code, etc. And then we can have some other local files in Windows, like local Windows files, like just to show how Explorer work, right? OneLake Explorer work. We can have other data sources as well if needed, but on a very high level, this is the first thing, right? Now, If we go further, this particular source, we are producing it by ourselves. So we're gonna be writing code to produce this data in Fabric first. This is how I'm thinking. We can change it as well, right? So in Fabric notebook. So this Fabric notebook will be using faker type library, which will be producing the fake data. And then in Azure, we will have Azure event hub created, right? In this event hub, we will be using this event hub REST API, and we will be integrating this REST API with our notebook, right? And then we will post these events which we are producing into this from this notebook into event hub, right? So it will start from our notebook, and then using event hub REST API, we will be pushing them here. So it will go something like this from here to here, right? So what it will look like that in future, when we want to see the real-time data, that events are producing from event hub, right? So it means how it works in practical. Like let me do that, right? So we have taxi rides, right? So taxi rides will generate events like, you know, what time the taxi is started the ride, what time it ended, what is the fare, what is the surge fare, and different type of things. In reality, this event data or this taxi data will be captured in, let's say, event hub, and then we will have event hub to ingest data in Fabric using real-time intelligence, right? So what we are doing, we are producing this data in our notebook here, right? So this is gonna be interesting. What it means that if we crack this, then we can have any real-time data application done, and we can create other project as well. Okay. Now if we go further, okay, if we go further here, so we have event hub created. Event hub data goes to Fabric through, now event hub created, right? And event hub is, let's say event hub is producing real-time events somehow, and we know that Fabric notebook, and we can use any other notebook as well. Now in Fabric, if we talk about Fabric, we will be creating our Fabric trial account, right? And I know that people are struggling to create the trial account because might be it's a new Azure account, and all we will see the limitations. Inside this Fabric account, we will be creating our workspace, right? Inside this workspace, we will be creating n number of things: Lakehouse, event house, data warehouse, right? And we will be using real-time intelligence to get this data into event house, right? And then we will be using, let's say we have Azure, just give me a second. We have Azure SQL DB here, right? This Azure SQL DB is having our vendor data. So what we will be doing, we will be using mirroring to get this data into data warehouse, right? And then we will be having our static files in blob storage, Azure blob storage. We will be using 3 or 2 things. So first thing, we will be using shortcut, right? And for other blob, we will be creating let's say Dataflow Gen2. This is, let's say, another blob. For other blob, we will be creating, let's say, some sort of data pipeline, right? So this is how the data ingestion will work. So once we have all the data in Fabric, either in Lakehouse, data warehouse, or event house, we will be creating internal shortcut as well. So let's say we want to see every data into our event house. So it means, let's say we want to see data from data warehouse and Lakehouse into event house. How to create this shortcut as well, right? What is the limitation, how real time they are, we're gonna be looking at that as well. And then, so once the data is done, then we will be using semantic models. So it means, let's say we have static data, right? And we have real-time data or near real-time data. How we can be joining this, and then how to use this join data into semantic models, and how to use the semantic models for real-time dashboards, right? And how to use this this real-time data or this join data for alerting, right? And where we can do this alerting integration with your Teams or emails, etc. And this is where Activator will come in picture, right? Let's go to our list again so that I can see what I'm missing. We haven't covered data science yet. Shortcuts done, SQL done, ingestion, event stream, Azure Key Vault I'll cover in 2 minutes, and data science, and then we'll cover vacuum. Okay, cool. Now, if we see here, we have Event Hub, right? Event Hub has key and secrets of how to access it. Now, what I have done, I have stored this into Azure Key Vault, right? And then the thing is how to see these Azure Key Vault secrets into Fabric Notebook. We will see that as well, right? Now, one last thing which we will be covering is we will be creating very simple data science models, right? Now, I had a quick thought about it, that what we can do. We can create data models around taxi demand prediction or fare estimation, or what could be trip duration, right? And then we can do the anomaly detection, demand forecasting. We can see any of these, but one thing what I would like to see is around fare estimation, or even what we call surge pricing, right? And how to use these models on real-time data and do the what I can say, real-time analytics. For example, let's say we have one area which has high demand but low supply, then we can use this surge pricing and we can send alerts to drivers on real time that okay, or how the price will look like, something around that. This is what I'm thinking as well. So if we go here, so I think this is what I'm thinking at the moment, right? We will have, and let me simplify it so that this is how the architecture will look like. If we just think from Fabric point of view, in Fabric, oh yeah, one last thing what I missed is CI/CD. Let me cover that in 2 minutes here, right? So in Fabric, we will have Lakehouse, Event House, Data Warehouse. Even I can cover Azure SQL DB, right? And then we will be covering real-time analytics, in which we will be covering data activator, we will be covering notebooks, we will be covering Dataflow Gen2 and pipelines and environment for these notebooks, right? And then how to use data science models inside this real-time analytics. So we have, if we go back to this diagram, on the persona side, we have covered data factory for data ingestion, right? Data engineering notebooks, data warehouse for data storage, data science for, let's say, search pricing, real-time analytics, and Power BI for data modeling. And OneLake throughout we will be using for data storage. So I think this is what I have covered in a lot of details. I will be covering a lot of details. Other thing, what I'm trying to see is how to do CI/CD, right? So I'm planning to cover two things. One is Fabric deployment pipelines, which are not exhaustive at the moment. They are still in development, and they're still in evolving. Other thing what I'm trying to show you guys is REST API, right? For the CI/CD. But having said that, since we are talking about REST API, what we can do, we can explore REST API for pipelines, data pipeline, or any other REST APIs in that case. Then semantic modeling. In this semantic modeling, I would like to cover data modeling up to some extent, and then some sort of dashboarding. I'm not a Power BI expert, but we can create few dashboards. So this is how the Fabric looks like. And then on this side, we will be learning about Event Hub, theory and bit practical, Azure Data Lake Gen2, right? And then OneLake Explorer. Yeah, this is on this side. And if people want to know one more data source, is how to provision Azure SQL as well, and how to store it. From here to here, we will be using Metadata-Driven Pipelines for full load and incremental load. I think this is all, right? I know that this is a lot. The idea of this series is to have two things, right? First, every week we will have one video. This video could be of length 1 to 2 hours, and it will cover everything in detail, right? The second thing is this video will be dependent on your feedback, right? So you can give me feedback that, okay, you know what, next week let's cover data modeling in detail, and in data model I want to see this. So what we can do, I'll explore that, and I'll work with, and you can share the code as well, that okay, could you please run this code, and could you please implement this code. The third thing is around see, this is, we can evolve this, right? We can make it big. For example, you guys can suggest more data sources, and then we can think about how to do the joining of these data sources with the thing what we have produced in Fabric. So it will again show us how to do data ingestion from different data sources and pipelines and whatever we want to learn. Anything else? So I think this is all. It's more about, I will start something, I will learn with you, I will listen to the feedback, and this series will keep evolving. And I mean to say, I haven't done anything like this, so it will be a learning for me as well. I'm hoping that you guys will be as helpful, and your feedback is the most important part of this series, right? So please, 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 share what you guys want to learn. Even please share what you guys are struggling with, right? Um, One thing what I have been doing for past few months, I'm very active on Fabric community, and what and I'm answering a lot of questions. One thing what I'm learning that I'm having, obviously I'm working with Fabric for past few years, but from that Fabric community, I'm literally learning what people are facing in the real time environment. What we can do, we can again bring those problems and we can replicate those. But yeah, please share your comments if you like this approach and where we want to, what are the suggestions, what we could improve. I would like every video to be as detailed as it could be. But thanks again. And I'm hoping that you guys will learn a lot from this series, and I will learn with you guys. So thanks again, and please share, subscribe, and comment on the video. Thank you. Really appreciate it.